Bob writes about it. Jim talks about it. But Chuck did something about it.
Foreman on a big hole across the 10. He's something else. He's out in touchdown land. He's something else, baby.
Now, here's longtime columnist Bob Sansevere, Fox 9's Jim Rich, and the great number 44,
Double 4.
Chuck Foreman.
Welcome to the JimBob Sports Jamboree with Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, and we are set to go. Free agency has kicked off, and you know what, though? Before we get into this, Chuck and the superstar Mike Morris also with us. Bob Sansevere will join us in a bit. We need to tell you that this show is brought to you by the Window Store, Inc., energy-efficient windows, expert installation, and top-quality craftsmanship, all at a price you will love. Call 612-252-5780 or visit windowstoreinc.com today for your free consultation. They'll come right to your house and check it out. That is the Window Store. Tyler, not with us this week, but he'll be back soon. And also this show is brought to you by Experience Maple Grove. Everybody, it's spring break. People leaving town? No. Maple Grove, way better. And your wallet will thank you as well. You don't have to fly to go to Maple Grove. There's no airport. You just drive there and holla, we're there at the restaurant capital of Minnesota. All right, Chuck, the moves that have been made to this point, it seems like we want to get a lot more beefier with this Minnesota Viking team. Something that I think you must have been on the phone to Kwesi because you harp on this every single time. If you do not win at the line, you will not win the game.
Well, we know that. Mike knows that. Mike was a lineman when he played here. He was a long snapper too. But anyway, he knows been in the trenches. But anytime you have a winning team, in my opinion, anyway, you always build from the inside out, whether it's the offense or defensive line. I think one of the weaknesses of the Vikings last year was their inability consistently to perform, especially on that inside, the center guards positions. That needed to be shored up, especially if they decide to go with the second-year quarterback who's going to need all the help he can get.
Yes, he will.
In order to, because we lost, I thought was a fine developing quarterback in Sam Darnold. But I'm happy for Sam because he got paid. But I think the Vikings, on the other hand, they've taken a big gamble, and hopefully they put the things in place to help JJ do what he can do. And we'll have to see what he can do because we don't know what he can do.
Exactly. Mr. Morris, I think those echo your sentiments.
Exactly. I mean, number one, we've got a great running back, future Hall of Famer, saying that he respects the play of offensive line, that you're not going to be able to run the ball effectively or throw the ball effectively without a great offensive line up there in front. And I could not agree with him more. I mean, it just is all set up by an offensive line that can control the line of scrimmage and allow you to move the chains, take the time off the clock, and rough up the defense a little bit. And then by the fourth quarter, they can't even bring a pass rush because you pounded them into the ground and you've run the ball all up and down their tail, and now you can't even really pass rush. And that was the mentality of Johnny Michaels. That was exactly what he preached, was take the time off the clock. While you're doing that, by the way, your defense is over there on the bench resting.
Right.
So they're fresh when they come in with, fresh legs. So anyway, I agree. There's nothing I can add to that. He said it right. And I think it's a gamble, taking all your chips and pushing them into the middle of the table and saying JJ's our guy, and we'll say goodbye to Sam Darnold and
35
Daniel Jones
over
and Mullins.
4,000 yards. Nick Mullins is gone. Daniel Jones is gone. The cupboard is bare.
It's bare. Sure so I'm hoping they know it. I know they know it. Let's put it a different way. I know they must have a plan because you just can't go with JJ. He's still an unproven guy.
Totally,
especially at the most important position on the offense, the quarterback. And so I don't know what their plan is, but I hope it's something that's going to be
we all said figure out a way to keep Darnold.
Right.
You know, that was the consensus of the room.
I don't
Sansevere.
know why they didn't do that. They put all the work into developing, and now he's going to take all their hard work, go to Seattle, which I think is going to be a good place for him, and I think he's going to excel there.
I think they got rid of a lot of their team up there, though. I mean, I know Geno's gone, and you could see something coming
Metcalf
when Geno
is
took
gone.
off. Metcalf is gone now, and there was a second receiver also that left, right?
I think so, yeah.
They released one
Bailey,
of the Lockett.
That's
Yeah,
it,
they
that's
released
it.
Lockett.
Thank you, Hunter.
So
Right. And so but certainly they got a plan too out there. So,
apparently
hey, you know what? The bottom line is, I'm happy for Sam because he got paid.
I mean, he made the best of his opportunity
he
here.
certainly did.
He got out of New York and came in and raised the ante, and it paid off. For
And
him.
I'm glad he didn't go back to New York, whether it was the Giants or of course he wasn't going back to the Jets, but Seattle's going to be a good place for him.
I think so too.
So you look at what they decided here to do, and they didn't make a stronger play for Daniel Jones. We kind of thought that was the backup plan had Darnold gotten big money, but they didn't. I mean, Jones signs $14 million. You paid Sam $10 million last year, so he's basically getting backup money again. Yet he has gone to Indianapolis. So what does that tell you?
Because he's got a better opportunity to play there in Indianapolis because Richardson has not shown that he hasn't been able to stay healthy, number one, and he's been sporadic, number two, as the top quarterback they have. And I think Daniel Jones will end up the starting quarterback in Indianapolis. Not that Richardson is not good enough to be. I just think he's going to take a little more longer to get to the point where they're going to trust him with that offense. So for Daniel Jones, if he learned anything here with Kevin and he takes it to Indianapolis, then he wins too.
Right.
So he's got a better opportunity to play in Indianapolis than he would have here.
But Mike, doesn't that kind of tell you that from what he picked up in the room, Jones, that there's not much of a window here for him?
It must have been. It must have been a telltale
because
sign. Yeah.
if you're going to go compete with Anthony Richardson, you would think you would have sensed, you had a feel of the room here in Minnesota as to what the staff's thinking. And so you're decided, I'm going to go somewhere I really don't know what's going on versus what I know I don't have a shot here.
Totally,
So to me, that tells me that he picked up the vibe that the Vikings are all in on JJ. I'm not going to be able to convince him otherwise.
What a great stop it was for him. I mean, just to come here. What game did he get here? It was like 5 games in, 6.
Maybe that. It was late October, early November.
Okay, so, but
and he
think
hung
about what
up.
he may have gained in that time. I mean, he stopped off here, made a contract, made some money here. Right. But what he may have picked up was maybe something like what Darnold got in San Francisco was learning, the offense and learning how to study, like he did with Purdy. I mean, he learned something there. Like maybe Daniel Jones said, "Look, I understand what offense and how it should move and what to look at and what is the first, second, third read on your checkdowns." And I haven't been doing that before in the past, where he felt like it's going to be JJ here, and I have a better vibe about what they're talking about out in Indianapolis with Richardson not being the guy or showing the confidence he should, taking himself out of games and so on and so forth. I mean, that maybe is a better opportunity for him.
Yeah, but I think also what he probably learned here is like, okay, if it's not there, don't throw it into coverage. Or don't think
right,
because he's got such a strong. That's the only thing about guys with strong arms like that. They think their arm can beat a coverage.
That's it.
And and sometimes you do things that you don't normally do. And so with him, I think being here and being with Kevin, I know during the practices we don't see all that. He probably told him or we're coaching him up like, hey, don't make that decision. Hold on to the ball, do what you got to do. So if because his thing was throwing interceptions, lots of them, in crucial times when he's under pressure. And so maybe he, if he got anything out of being here, maybe he picked up or maybe he's learned to slow it down and understand even more, don't make a play. If it's not there, it's not there. Just do the smart thing. And so if he can pick up on that and take it to Indianapolis, I think that'll make him the starter because Anthony Richardson, physically, he's gifted.
Right.
But whether is he ready for this stage, I don't think he's quite ready yet because he was replaced last year. Mm-hmm. Well, once or twice, wasn't it?
Once or twice,
yeah, he got replaced, and so even the year before. So, he's got some growing to do, and I think this might be a great opportunity for him.
Right. And like I said, I think he feels that there is no opportunity here.
Right.
That he's seeing all the grooming going on, that Jones got tutelage here, but he saw McCarthy and O'Connell's got his arm around him at practice and taking him into special meetings where Daniel Jones was like, oh, yeah. You go hang out with Nick Mullins over there. We're working with JJ right now. And so I think he read the room. Right. And because if you wanted to win a Super Bowl, if that's your ultimate goal, this team, I think, has a better position to do that than Indianapolis. If you're Daniel Jones and not only you're looking for a place to play, but a place to win, I would think being here, like Darnold got thrown into a great situation here. Right. All the pieces are around you to make you a winner. Indianapolis doesn't have that, and now half their offensive line is here as well. So he's going to go there with a cupboard bare for that offensive line to deal with. So I'm thinking that, fans are wondering, is the Vikings truly all in on McCarthy? I think seeing all those guys leave lets you know what's not being said publicly.
Yeah, the only thing, though, is he going to be 100%? And who's going to, if he's not, then who's going to be the guy?
That's it.
Because in this game, in this league, you got to have really two starters. That you're going to have one that's going to be the guy, but you got to have a guy that's going to be in there that can say he can take the car and drive it and make sure you don't wreck it.
Right. Don't scratch it.
Don't scratch it. Don't scratch the car. So that's the key. And so we don't know what the Vikings are going to do with that. And I know it's not going to be that one guy.
Who's the other one?
No, we're not going to go down that road.
Oh, well,
I got to talk
about that. Oh, that's
Maple
pretty
Grove,
good there.
Maple Grove, because as we said, spring break is here, and Maple Grove is your destination. And you're like, what? Really? No. Heading south, there's benefits, no doubt. Temperature's a little warmer, but if you're staying local, there's plenty of action and activity in Maple Grove for your entire family to check out. The amazing Holiday Inn Water Park. There, you want water? There you go. It is so much fun. It's a place for you to unwind and the kids to go crazy. To burn more energy, there's also the brand new Slick City Action Park. There's Pites and pickleball facility, whirly ball, and so much more. So you already have seen it. It's been featured on the Fox 9 Morning News. So go check that out on YouTube. And you know what? The weather is warming up here. It's not bad out at all. In Maple Grove, you'll find miles of hiking and biking trails, as well as parks that'll keep your family busy and smiling. And of course, we all know about the shopping there. It is home to the second largest retail footprint in the state and features many of your favorite stores. You're hungry? We've talked about it many times. Maple Grove is the restaurant capital of Minnesota and features nearly 150 restaurants from locally owned and operated to your favorite chains and hidden gems. So this is where you have to go if you want to plan a great adventure and keep your wallet happy as well. Log on to experiencemaplegrove.com. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, the JimBob Sports Jamboree will continue, and we'll get into more Vikings talk after this. Welcome back to the JimBob Sports Jamboree with Vikings legend Chuck Foreman and the superstar Mike Morris. This show brought to you by the Window Store, Inc. Energy-efficient windows, excellent, expert installation, top quality craftsmanship. That's what you get. Visit them at windowstoreinc.com. And we're also brought to you by Experience Maple Grove. It is your spring break headquarters. Check it out. Go to experiencemaplegrove.com and you'll see why. You'll go, you know what? That's not a bad idea. I could see the star.
And he hasn't invited me up to the great spring break destination. I'm going to have to talk to him.
Yeah, I think so.
No invite.
You know, Chuck, I could see him. I don't know if you've ever saw the episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes down the water slide, but he's too big and he gets stuck in the hole, and all these kids piled up behind him.
Mean.
I could see.
I'm sensitive. You can't talk about me being so fat I'd plug a tube up going down the water slide.
And he's saying you're muscular, man.
Yes, because you would bust out of it. They wouldn't have to remove the tube like they did with Homer. You would just shatter it.
Right.
You would just shatter that thing.
Oh my God!
All the kids would be falling from 2 stories. It'd be great.
I'm going to go up there just to do that now.
I think so.
Give it a shot.
Speaking of gentlemen that would be considered beefy, Will Fries, 6'6", 304 pounds. Javon Hargrave, 6'2", 305 pounds. Ryan Kelly, 6'4", 313 pounds.
Keep on going.
And then on the other side, Jonathan Allen, 6'3", just a measly 265. So the Vikings in 24 hours added a ton of humanity. 1,187 pounds that comes up
They've been listening to us.
There you go.
Yes.
Right.
Finally.
Quasi,
So-
say hi to Quasi. I'm sure he's listening.
Well, for sure. It's like that's what we need.
Do we get a finder's fee?
Well, but the jury's out though. We got to see if they can. They
play.
look good, but can
play.
they perform well?
The most surprising one though is you already had Garrett Bradbury. He's under contract for this season. There's no more guaranteed money from what I've read from the Tom Palaceros and people like that. So if they do cut him, I wouldn't hurt them financially. But you brought in a second center, and this is something different for the Vikings. Usually they're filling holes. They're not taking somebody and knocking them out of a hole. But that's what it looks like with Ryan Kelly coming in here.
Well, obviously, center's been a question mark, for a few years now. Not saying that Bradbury doesn't give it all, because I certainly believe he gives it all he can. He's just undersized, I think. And
he is a good athlete. He was a great baseball player, wasn't he?
And a wrestler, too.
And
that's why Zimmer liked him.
Right.
Because Zimmer was big into guys that also wrestled, because he felt that was really an attribute for linemen in the leverage game and trying to get the positioning on people.
I think that there's a lot of truth in that.
They need that. Every time, excuse me for saying that, every time I watch that Super Bowl and see the Philadelphia Eagle line, 6'6", everybody, 6'6", 340 all the way across.
All the way across.
Just physically dominating everybody, and just like when they come out, they just beat you up. And saying like that's Ed White type.
Yeah.
In my era, that's Ed White type attitude.
Larry Allen,
but like 50, 60 pounds heavier.
Oh, yeah, that's bully ball. That is bully ball.
Yeah, they come out and they just know they go, and then they lost their center retired, and the other guy stepped in and just didn't.
That's right. Beat. And I guess that Kelsey actually helped in the process of picking the next center.
Oh, no doubt.
And I think he was in that hunt for a couple of years, waiting for a kid that looked good through the college ranks, and he helped him with that.
Probably so.
And that's this guy.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm running back, I'm like, hey, I'd be shining the shoes and getting them new sneakers or whatever it is. Hey, I got some new shoes. You want some? Or hey, can I take you to dinner?
Yeah.
Hey, can I go babysit for you tomorrow night? You and your wife can go out.
I played with a running back named Stump Mitchell, Livonia Stump Mitchell from the Citadel.
Yeah.
And every year, if he got to his 1,000-yard mark, he'd take Big Tootie Robbins and Lance Smith and Luis Sharp and those guys. Big Derek Kennard, he'd take those guys out and buy them boots when we played in Dallas, because we played them twice a year. So he took them to a really nice place in Dallas. He let them pick boots every year. So talk about the boots and shining their shoes. I mean, Stump would actually do that. But I think you have to take your hat off to that big offensive line. When you have a winning season, it's a lot because the offensive line is doing well. It just is. It's a direct correlation with success is having a big-time offensive line. Protects the passer.
And believe me, when you're a running back and you got guys like that up front, and you do things that you don't normally would do, or you would try things that you wouldn't normally try. Like
there you go.
Remember that that play running back. I can't. I mean,
Is it Barkley? Are you talking about Barkley?
Yeah.
Oh, the old jump
the
turn.
thing and the twist and all man. Now he wouldn't have normally done that if he's with the Giants.
True.
If he's with the Giants, he would have said, "Man, I'm not trying that." But he was so confident in his whole way of running the ball, and hey, he jumps up and spins and
Unreal.
Man,
a reverse hurdle.
Reverse hurdle, and like that was the best move I seen.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How does a guy whiff on that too? I mean, the guy jumps and turns. You don't want to be the guy that whiffed on it.
Hey, not only that, it was just so
It's amazing.
smooth and so natural.
Body
It was like,
control.
yeah, body
Reminds
control.
me of somebody else I used to know.
And the guy
Reminds me of someone else I used to know. Body control.
Body
That little spin
control,
move.
Yeah. But this guy is not only he's strong. I don't know what he lifts, Mike.
Oh, he's a big leg guy.
But he can lift.
Oh,
And he's fast.
he really is.
He ain't getting caught from behind.
They told me at Penn State, we went out there and did a seminar for the strength,
Right.
and they told us about Saquon Barkley and his leg routine, and his squat routine. It's he's playing around with 12 reps at 500 pounds, so that's huge. That's huge for a running back, especially. But also Barry Sanders used to play with 500 pounds. Play with it.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Really?
those running backs, the good ones, they have those legs, man. They
So-
got 'em.
Well, I can tell you, I never did that.
You had too many. I mean, you didn't have to.
Well, you had that
You made people
universal.
miss.
They used to have a
little
universal thing like they
Hey,
had
the
like
spider
8
rack.
stations on it.
Looked like a big spider in the middle of the floor.
Just lifted
Yeah.
up
When
and
I got
down.
to the Vikings, Mike, the only thing they had over there at that stadium,
Midway Stadium.
Midway Stadium, where we used to practice
Yeah.
when the Twins were playing, and they had this little universal machine, and then of course Milt Sunday at the time owned a little.
Yep.
He owned a weight.
He made some stuff for me. He actually fabricated some stuff for me.
Yeah, and so he had to bring weights in there so guys could lift with, and take them back to his
That's it.
facility. But he was a guy that showed everybody how to lift. You know, but
Unreal.
the Vikings themselves only had this little universal machine. It was
I was told about that. Jack
worst.
Patera
right,
told me. Well, Kenny told me.
Right.
That they took him over there.
Right.
When he was a kid, Jack
Right.
brought him in
Right.
to see you guys because I mean, Jack number one was a great coach, and he had the right of way anywhere in the place that you wanted to go, so he
Right.
could bring in little Ken. Right. Well, little Ken was 14.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there then. I mean, I was about Ken's age.
Maybe so.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. I thought that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, you're right.
Okay,
Well, maybe you
he-
came through with Ken. I don't know.
Well, he's my age, man. So.
I know it. No, hey, they said he put the free weight that Milt had.
Right.
He put it all on the bar and put it over his head when he was 14.
Right.
Now look, it was like maybe 375 pounds.
Oh,
but he
well,
put it over his head.
that's not a big deal.
That's a strong individual. He went on to become the first American lifter to put 500 pounds over his head.
Wow.
So
Yeah, but anyway,
All right,
that
back-
goes to show you.
Back
Yeah, it
to
does.
the size of these linemen.
Right.
Is the NFL shifting once again? The last couple of years, it was all about passing the ball, get the best wide receivers. Let's just go, go, go. Now we're seeing the Vikings looking at the Eagles, seeing that line, and seeing what havoc they caused to get themselves a Super Bowl. Do you think the whole league now, all of a sudden,
Well-
running backs are now going to be in vogue once again?
Well, Mike and I know whoever came up with the idea that you can just throw the ball and win games all the time, it looks pretty.
thank you.
It looks pretty.
Keep
but look,
going.
What happens? You got more time on the clock. That means the guys, your opponent gets more time to come and score, and he can run the clock out. And if he gets ahead of you, you ain't catching up because he's taking the clock and he's running the clock. And number two, you can't win in this game at this level without a really great running attack. I mean, at least a really, really good one. But you can't win without one. And whoever the guy was that came in and said, "Oh, running back," well, all those guys that I used to see
Yep.
on TV, I forgot the
Even
guy.
the Mel Kuypers.
The Kuipers,
We're saying-
and people like, he's just a running back. He'll go in the second round. Well, you know what? You better be smart. And like that kid coming out of Boise State, wherever
Yeah.
that is, they better go grab him because you know what? He's going to be a game changer and a guy that can take you to the Super Bowl. So the running game has always been a
Staple.
a staple. And then and the winning teams, they always got one.
Yep.
Absolutely.
They always got one. The ones that don't, they win, they lose. Look, even in Kansas City hasn't had a great dominant back. But you saw what happened when their offensive line didn't perform. Patrick Mahomes was just average.
Nowhere to go.
He had nothing to do. They couldn't run. They couldn't throw it.
I mean, Pacheco, the year that Pacheco was healthy.
Yeah.
And is it Hunter? Wait.
Yeah, Hunter. Yeah, he's good.
Hunt.
He's good.
Right.
Hunt.
Hunt.
Yeah, they got two good running backs.
Decent. I mean, Pacheco wasn't feeling great this season.
No,
we know
not
about
at
that.
all.
But when he was healthy and he was behind the offensive line that Chuck was talking about before that, that's how they won Super Bowls. He gave Mahomes all the time in the world to be able to set up the passing game.
And then the running game was real good.
It was legit. It was legit.
But then they got away from that. And the offensive line, of course, when you have offensive line problems,
big hogs,
you're always going to have
and they
issues.
let some of them go. They brought in piece by piece. We can do this with anybody. That you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, the big time offensive lines, if you have a big group and you play bully ball and you can run the ball like Philadelphia, they can also pass pro too.
Yeah.
Like you got to have the guys who can also pass pro. It allows you to do anything you want.
Right.
But you know what? The people that surprised me totally about the assessment of the importance of a running back was some of the guys that played in the NFL that are on TV every week saying, well, that's not, it's going to the wide receiver. Then you should know that the wide receiver is just a quick score. That's not going to help you.
There you go.
Unless you got some receivers that are just like 4-1, 4 flat.
That's it. I mean,
They're gonna give you that.
Who was ever going to drink that Kool-Aid anyway? There were a lot of legit NFL people that were drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yes,
right.
That the running game was.
Well, you saw those guys
that
that couldn't get contracts.
Yeah, couldn't get contracts.
They were going to make a union trying to get that there had to be a floor to
Kidding
pay
me.
them.
Watch this. Then who just got Saquon just signed for 2 years? What, $20 million a year?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Finally.
thank you. Well, yeah, but I can understand the fact that running backs are susceptible to injury. I can understand that part, but pay the guy what he's deserving, and if you instead of giving him a 5-year, give him a 2-year. Like when Barker got $20 million a year, and then you add on when it goes. That's understandable,
right?
Because you are, your job is a little bit more dangerous. Let's say,
no question.
And so I understand that part, but don't say he's not worth it. He's darn sure is worth it.
He's worth it. And you know what? If you pay them the way they're supposed to be paid, those guys will stay on the field somehow.
Right,
if their incentive is built up enough that if they play, they just get paid more and more. And
then,
they're going to stay out there.
Right, and then look at Henry.
Oh,
The
there
big
you go.
dude from the Ravens.
Yep.
And just look at that. He lives in Dallas, right? And of course, the Cowboys didn't even offer him.
What's wrong?
And
What's
that's-
wrong?
that's
That's
like-
one team that should know. They had the offensive line, had the offensive line for the past 2 decades, and the running backs, the Emmitt Smiths and Ezekiel, and
they made really good. They made good running backs and the great running backs, in my opinion.
Yes.
That offensive line that they
Offensive
had,
line,
you
yes.
didn't even get touched until you in the secondary.
That's it.
I mean, come on, let's go.
Oh, I mean, Emmitt Smith, he'll tell you himself. I mean, it started from Larry Allen's and the Mike Stepnoski wasn't the biggest center, but he was a really good one. You had Eric Wright out there. You had
that offensive line was just Dallas is
Nate Newton. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
That's how you do it.
Yeah. So, with that said,
Right.
Aaron Jones is back.
Right. He's going to have a good year.
That's good.
They need more, correct?
I think you always need to have 2 really great running backs if you could. Because the game is so much more physical. Because the guys are so much more bigger. The impact is much greater.
And Aaron Jones doesn't shy away from
and he don't
contact
shy
either.
away from it. He's not the biggest guy, but he sure gives it everything he has every play. So I think they got him, and so we need another guy that's going to be that can spell him and you don't lose anything.
Yeah.
I agree.
You
I mean, I think that.
But he's the guy that
do you
says,
draft one, or do you see what's left in free agency?
well, what do we got there? I thought we had some good ones there already.
Well, Akers is gone. He's a free agent.
He's
Yep.
he's gone.
Yep. So they've got to find another body somewhere. Whether
Well, where
they
did he
draft.
go? Did he leave or?
No, he's just sitting out there. So they may find, at this recording, he is a free agent, but he could come back. You are correct. So he may decide that this is a place to stay.
Well,
After making that big catch last year in the big moment, his stock rose on that quite a bit under the pressure moments.
The thing about running backs, the first thing you got to understand when you see them, you can either run it or you can't.
Right.
You either know how to hit the hole and hit it hard and fast and make your moves right away. But when you get those guys, I'm going to tell you how you separate a running back. When they get to the line of scrimmage and they start tiptoe, just like pitter-patting in the middle of the hole,
dancing.
You don't want them.
That's it. I thought, and I shouldn't say this maybe. I'm going to anyway because that's me.
What?
I mean, Adrian Peterson, I thought, danced a lot and didn't follow his blocks or set up blocks. I thought he did a lot of dancing at the point of attack, waiting and trying to make his own daylight. I don't know, but that's just me. It's just an observation.
Like that. He probably would have had another 1,000.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but he was so strong and so fast. And he's just like he was unique in that way.
He was
that he could do it that way. But I'm talking about you get a running back and you look at him and you look at film on him and you see what he does when he's in the hole.
Yep.
And if he's sitting there pitter-patting, deciding where he's going, that's why I always used to like take a step back. And when I'm hitting that line full speed.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make my decision whether it's the good one or the wrong one. I'm coming at you.
Better bring it.
You know what I mean? There's just that's just the way it has to be. Because when you get a guy that doesn't do that, and I see a lot, especially when quarterbacks don't get under the center that much,
right?
And they hit the ball and they hand the ball off, and the guy's trying to, read and stuff like that.
Make an adjustment while he's getting the ball.
I want to know that ball's coming to me, coming to me.
Right.
And then I'm coming. Like I said, I like to take that step back, get a little deeper, then I'm off.
All right.
Right.
Speaking of places to go, and it's always the right decision when it's time to upgrade. Vikings upgraded their offensive line. You got to upgrade things around the house. Where should somebody maybe go?
There's no question in my mind. I mean, I've got the ace right up my sleeve right now. Get it?
Oh,
okay. That was funny, right? That was pretty funny. I'll be here all day making up jokes. Okay. Anyway, Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks. Get over there. 4 places: Zumbrota, Rosemont, Farmington, and Egan. Get on down there today. I mean, number one, don't be a knucklehead and go in and try and figure out paint for yourself. You won't get it done. You'll come home with some goofy paint. You'll throw it up on the wall. It'll look like a Bob Ross painting. Don't do it. It won't match. Get on down there and ask for the good stuff. The Benjamin Moore or the Clark Kensington paint. They'll have it there for you. They'll show you. They'll walk you right up to it. Then they'll say, bring your sample and let's just match it right here, right now at the counter. And they'll do that for you too. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks. It's so easy if you just slow it down. Give it some time, right? And it's the Polici Ace hardware stores. Family owned, over 30 years. Do it. I guarantee you'll not have nearly the trouble when you come home with, as you normally do, with the wrong paint. Do it that way. Ace Hardware. Do it. Superstar said so.
All right. And, of course, you want to look good when you're parked in the Ace parking lot.
Yeah.
So you need something
transportation
that's
to get down there. You want to look good, right? So, number one, put a bag over your head if you're me, and just let them look at the truck. You'll look good that way. Don't roll down the window. And so get on down to Dodge of Burnsville. Don't buy garbage. Don't buy recycled garbage trash like you would at any other car dealership other than Dodge of Burnsville. Get on down there. You'll see it right when you drive into their parking lot. Red carpet, 5 gold stars above their door.
Wow.
They don't have
beautiful.
They don't have that at all. I made that up. So, but you can get in there, and I'm not lying to you about this. I'm not fibbing. Adam and Mark Seva, father-son dynamic duo down there. So head on down there and ask them what they can do for you in the way of a trade, new or used. It's all out there on the lot. They have a lot of selection down there on the lot. So just tell them what you're looking for. They'll set you up, and they'll have great service to follow that up, okay? Get on down there. Dodge of Burnsville in Burnsville, right off of 35W and Cliff Road in Burnsville. Tell them the Superstar sent you.
Perfect. All right, we'll take a break. The JimBob Sports Jamboree will continue after this.
Welcome back to the JimBob Sports Jamboree with Vikings legend Chuck Foreman, another legend, the superstar Mike Morris. This by the Window Store. Now, Mike and Chuck, I wasn't part of the first couple of segments, and let me just say that I think even last year was a really good free agency period. I think this was even better because they addressed the offensive line, which they ignored last year. And what I think this means is and they're not done, but when we look at what they have to do going into the draft, to me, the position they got to look at, and Chuck, you and Mike and Jim talked about it in that last segment, they got to get a running back to back up or maybe split time with Aaron Jones, because is there a glaring need now? I don't know that there is after what they did in free agency.
Well, I think they definitely need a 1-2 combination, that's for sure. And so I don't know whether it's going to be in the draft or whether they got somebody on the current roster that can step up. I think they do have some talent on there already, but whether they're going to be able to keep those guys is another story. So, yeah, they got the offensive line. I think they made some good strides there, but now the running game's got to be shored up.
They got to shore it up. Now, Mike, let me ask you, because you played as an offensive lineman. You were a long snapper, but you played on the line. Mm-hmm. And you may have touched on this, but I didn't hear it. I need to know, is the plan for Garrett Bradbury to cut him or to make him a guard? And can you go from center to guard? Is that an easy transition, or is he just not built for today's NFL?
I know. I think that, we looked up his height and weight. He's 6'3", 300 pounds is what they have him listed at. So he's not that far behind what Kelly is, who is 6'5", I believe, 313. But that's a huge center, by the way. But it's what you do with your hands. I told these guys. I played with Mike Webster in Kansas City when I was with the Chiefs. He was 255, and he could block anybody. It didn't matter. He could block anybody, and he's in the Pro Bowl. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he's one of the first centers on that list of top 100 players of all time. But so you can play if you know what you're doing with your hands and your feet, and so it's not that he's undersized. It's not that at all. They just think that it's an upgrade to go to Kelly over him. Even in his best year, Kelly is probably a notch up above Bradbury right now. So I'm thinking that they're looking at starting Kelly, just like right now, starting Kelly, and it's going to be up to Bradbury to either line up and play guard, which he could do. That wouldn't be an issue at all.
That's what I meant. Yep,
it wouldn't be a problem. And so that's the second part of the question. I mean, he'd be able to do that. I think he'd probably make a better guard than center, to be honest.
Why?
Because he doesn't have to snap the ball, and he gets to just put his hand on the ground and go get somebody. And I think he's a good enough athlete to be able to get out and pull and be in space and block somebody. I've seen him on screens. He does a nice job for a center. And I think he does a good job in open space and tracking. And I think, some of that athleticism could be exploited somewhat more so than him at center. And so it could be a good transition for him, or they have someone that they could trade and find something else. I think they could find some value for him that way too.
Well, I mean, if they could make him a guard, that'd be great. And I love the fact that they took the center and a guard from the Colts, because there's chemistry between those two guys, so they don't have to learn each other.
That's a good point.
Now, is Freeze a left guard, or can he play either guard? You've talked about Randall, and he
plays right guard because Nelson plays left guard, and he's one of the best in the league. I would have loved it. If we had gotten him, that would have been fantastic. But Freeze is a right guard, and Kelly was the center. But they're both legit, really good football players, really solid.
Well, they still need a left guard.
Well, it depends on what your way of thinking is on that. I say yes, they probably do. Although that it was Brandel, I think his last name Brandel. He turned out to be a pretty good player. They said he's a good leader in the locker room, and he was kind of the glue that held that bunch together up there, which I found amazing because O'Neal and Darisaw, they're on that line, and a lot of those guys are veteran players, but this kid came in and had some leadership qualities about him. So I thought that was very interesting.
Even when they made these moves, which are good, the main thing is to keep everybody healthy.
Yes.
Because when he's healthy, he can play.
He's a horse.
Right. So, they made some good moves, and we'll see what they're going to do. And if Bradbury can play guard.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if he was 300 pounds.
Yeah, we looked him up, and I thought, well, that's not too far.
If he's 300, he should be able to do some damage.
Oh, absolutely.
But he is an athlete, though.
I think he's a good baseball player.
Yeah, he's a good
wrestler.
athlete. Yeah.
I think he was a catcher in baseball.
I think it'd be a mistake to let Bradbury go because Kelly has been hurt. I mean, if he goes down, then you got to have somebody you can put in who knows your system and knows what to do. But Kelly, he was not brought in here to fight for a job. He came in here to take the job.
I think so.
Exactly.
So it's an upgrade.
And I think,
yeah.
Well, I was going to say the defense, I think, got better too. I mean, these are good moves. Quasi can do free agency. The draft, it's a little, that might be a question mark, but free agency, he's done a good job these last couple of years.
I think he's got good gut instinct, and I think he's got a good feel for what is a good deal, how much money to spend, how much money he shouldn't just jump into because it's public perception that we should bring him back. Like Darnold, he was a little bit, squeamish about spending just $41 million because he was popular and people wanted him back, but he also didn't do extremely well in the playoffs. So maybe he thought, well, that's kind of his flying colors right there.
Yeah, but that's why they replaced the offensive line.
It's a good point.
Okay,
I think
because that affected the quarterback. But I'm not mad at Sam. Sam got paid.
Yeah,
and he deserved it.
So, I wish he'd stayed here. I really do. I think that a second year would have been a lot different even, and another few more offensive linemen to solidify that thing up front would have made him better.
Right.
And I wish he was still here, but Quasi's got this idea, and he's had a lot of good ideas that have panned out. So I hope this is just another one of those, and JJ works out.
We'll see.
Chuck, let me ask you, because you've talked about it. I'm guessing, if I'm wrong, corrected, Ed White was the guy you wanted to run behind, and he was your left guard, right?
Ed White was nasty. So that's what, and I loved everything about him. He gave you 150% every play. He was dependable. He was the greatest of my time, anyway. And he just had that. He made everybody else around him better because he was, I don't know whether I want to say bully, but I want to be behind him.
Right.
Because he was just like, you getting in a street fight. You want to be with Ed White because he's not stopping. I mean, he'd go at you all game long. And so he's the guy that set the standard for our team, even though we have Ron Ure and a lot of other guys that were really good. But even Ron fed off of Ed White because Ed was a little both of them are California guys, but Ron was more of a surfer guy.
He was a beach bum.
Yeah, he was a beach bum. He lived on the beach too, but
Ed was a beach bully.
Yeah, Ed go out in the
That's
ocean.
funny.
Yeah, that was the difference between those two. But together, boy, what a beautiful combination. Yeah.
And Ed could also rip a phone book. He surely and he was the best arm wrestler in the NFL.
And he ripped that thing in front of me one day, and he told me, if you don't follow my block, this is what's going to happen to you. And I didn't doubt it, So
that'll do it.
Yes, that'll do it.
Oh, that's great. All right, we got to wrap up here. The superstar Mike Morris and the legend Chuck Foreman will take a quick break. The JimBob Sports Jamboree will be right back.
On behalf of Vikings legend Chuck Foreman and Fox 9's Jim Rich, I'm Bob Sansevere, and I want to say thank you to all of our listeners and our radio partners, KXRA in Alexandria, KRWC in Buffalo, KDHL in Faribault and Owatonna, KDAL and WDSM in Duluth, WNMT in Hibbing, KTOE in Mankato, AM 660 The Bear, WBHR in St. Cloud, and Wild 102 FM in Roseau. Also, KWOA AM FM in Worthington, and KKBJ in Bemidji, and Bob Total Country serving the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul, and surrounding areas. We'll talk to you later.